Alright, hey guys, and welcome to the next part in this creator commentary sort of thing. This is episode 4 of Chaos War, and this is the episode for me that really signifies the start of a turning point for the overall series, honestly. It's a point in the series where I didn't have a script for this one, but I knew the idea of where I wanted it to go, as you guys probably saw in Episode 3, FEO Searching for the Shards of Apocalypse. I was kind of going for that sort of generic hunt for the MacGuffin sort of deal. And the reason these flashback scenes happen at the start of the episode was the start of many, many retcons and reworks of the original 3 episodes for things moving forward. So I started trying to get things a lot more character-driven and less focused on fights, even though the fights were never a big focus to begin with. I tried to make them somehow even less focused on fights. FEO's 3-frame walk cycle is always a pleasure to be, and the running joke of the FEO idle being 1 frame per pose and the tail going super quickly. It's never changing. It never has changed, it never will change. And this is where that continuity error between Vic asking where FEO is and this sort of even begins, is because I had not planned for Vic at the start to tell FEO to go and search for those shards. But it was something I came up with for this episode. And this spot here takes place immediately after episode 2. Or not immediately after, in between episode 2 and the last scene of episode 2. Where because you see Dark Sonic will be on the cliff and stuff. He got beat so bad he powered down to basic Sonic Black, the actual real Sonic Black.
Well, you had your fun.
Yeah, this episode here for me was a real signifying of a change for the series as a whole. It's where I had started to really try to make things more about the characters and make things make more sense and be less so random sort of things. And I think it does also show for as a whole comparatively to the first 3 episodes. This one for me was a pretty big upgrade. I thought so anyway. And now that the flashbacks are done, we carry on to the main story, as the dialogue says. And it's also some of the dialogue prior. Saw sort of FEO's doubts at the beginning, already kind of going, I'm not really sort of feeling this. And then just as the events carry on throughout this episode, he becomes even less sure of what he's doing. And now we've got Dark Sonic and Metal Sonic. So the fun thing about what's about to happen here, man, I really sucked at aligning characters to the floor back in the day. They're always either way too high or way too low, like they are sucked into the ground. Anyway, the reason why this scene happens with Sonic turning Metal Sonic into Mecha Sonic was due to these Metal Sonic sprites, all honestly, being very limited. And the reason why there are white pixels right there is because I forgot to remove them. And when I had was cutting out the rest of the sprites, those white pixels that look like teeth are there because I forgot to remove them. And I just, by the time it was rendered, I was like, whatever, I don't care. But the Metal Sonic sprites were extraordinarily limited, and they didn't have a lot of use and versatility for them. And there was actually, on the Mecha Sonic sprite sheet, not a whole lot of more stuff to use, but there had been sprites that were pre-animated in Flash and movements already made that I didn't have to worry about making, so that kind of made up for the limited sprite set. They had already been sort of rigged. And John being absolutely fed up with people just showing up at his house uninvited. Classic. And here's where the beginning of the hunt for the MacGuffin shards begins, which really there was no point in me having them search for the shards, because the shards are a thing for John, but they don't really do too much in the grand scheme of the entire series, do they? Now, they give John the abilities, their abilities, they give Mortis abilities to use, and they have like their own each things that makes them different than the other. But otherwise, there's not really, they don't have a whole lot of plot relevance, except for, specifically for Mortis, TB2, and John. So the whole kind of having them separated thing also doesn't add or make a whole lot of sense for it. So, and here we are from where it would have been episode 3. And like I said in that commentary, I don't make the rules. If you had a transformation, you became a Genesis sprite. Again, don't ask me why. I don't know. That's just how it went. This episode also went through quite a few rewrites. I could not say rewrite, but I had a few of them strictly because I had started trying to use Flash CS4 and CS5 around this time, and this was the start of my woes with programs that weren't Flash 8 or CS3. Because this file corrupted on me twice, and I had to start it completely from scratch, which is why when you look at the original uploads, not this remastered version, then you can kind of see a bit of improvement between episode 3 and episode 4, just because I had to remake it twice, and so the third attempt, remake it twice, and so the third attempt made it a bit more. And the first action scene of the episode, which is admittedly longer than I think all the action scenes in episodes 1, 2, and 3. That's why I tried to be a bit more interesting with how the characters are animated and try to get a bit more, I don't know, engaged with how they were moving and stuff and interacting with each other. Again, it's not the best thing in the world, but you know, it's there. And some early John art. So the part that this could have been clarified a lot more in the episode is that this is a dream sequence that FEO is having. Like, he was taking a nap after he found that first emerald while he'd been searching, and that was indeed a dream sequence. It wasn't really shown that well that that's what was going on, but it was implied through dialogue. Now we have Mechasonic here in Marble Garden Zone. Not Marble Garden, Marble Zone. I always get Marble Zone and Marble Garden mixed up whenever I say them, but no, this is Marble Zone. And with the scenes of episode 3, part 3 taking place. As I said before, this is when I really started to solidify a lot more of the ideas of how I wanted the characters to interact with one another, how I wanted their personalities to be more separate from one another instead of them all having the same personality, just with different skins. And this is when I first showed off that other characters cannot interact with and use the Shard's abilities like John can. It's the first instance of it. But yeah, this is where I really began to solidify the ideas of how characters acted, their personality types. I started making Bunsey a bit more of the, not coward, but the unwilling fighter, and being more comedic about it, where I also started to make John more goofy, less serious, and sort of mold John into be the sort of, okay, he is willing to fight, but he has got problems that hold him back. And Vic, just the sort of stereotypical shonen protagonist. He's down to kick ass. He's down to do his things. And, you know, it's kind of how they all sort of fleshed out from there. as I'm sure anyone who has seen the DX version of 1 and 2 can sort of, those are the de facto personalities I stick with them with. Oh, hey, I forgot those pixels again. I actually just reuse this pose, and that's why the pixels are there. This episode was also a very big learning experience with me because, as I think I've said in the prior part, I did not like, I still don't like fight scenes. I never liked making them, but this was the episode where I tried to up the game on how I handled fight scenes. I tried to make it more dynamic, so I had been watching Dawning of Darkness, Sonic's Quest for Power, Negasonic Unleashed, and I had actually, around episode 4, just started trying to watch the combat of SMBZ as well. Sort of figure out how they handled combat, how they handled characters interacting with one another as they were fighting. And so those were sort of the inspirations of what I was studying while making the fight scenes for this episode. And then I like to think that maybe I continue to develop the fights, make them better, and make them more appealing by the time the series ended in episode 10. Some people might disagree, but, you know, I think I was doing the best I could and did the best I could with, on something I really did not enjoy doing. Now, here is where we start seeing the side effects of a character using the shards that really has no business using the shards. It does not interact well. So a fun thing that I never explicitly stated, but it was always implied, was from episode 4 onward at the very least. Assume if I say always implied, I mean from episode 4 onward. But John's energy and the shards' energy do not work with Chaos energy. They are conflicting. They don't stick together very well. To the point of, like, Chaos energy is essentially like poison to John. If a healer tries to heal John and they use Chaos energy, they're essentially killing him if they try to heal any, you know, fatal wounds. Minor wounds, okay, he could deal with that. It'd be like he got a little sick or something. But mortal wounds, yeah, no, he would die from them trying to heal him. And we saw Mechasonic, saw the repercussions of using a shard that conflicts with what he is capable of doing. And of course, you know, the good old classic Microsoft Vista jokes that were all the rage back in 2011. You know, Vic started that in Random Flash and had, you know, the old Vista boot up thing in his old Random Flash videos. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to make a joke about it. Because why not? Robot, make Vista joke, of course. And that leads us into where episode 3 ends here. Sort of recap of it. Animating John not using energy as he was intended. And here we get the first instance of a character who went very underutilized in the original run of Chaos War. Flick had, like I said in the episode 3 commentary, I hadn't thought of Flick yet by the time episode 3 had been worked on until the very end of episode 3 and the start of episode 4. And so Flick's backstory in relation to John had not been fully fleshed out yet, and it is now. And unfortunately, because of introducing him so late, he's around for this episode and next episode, and he dies in the next appearance. So he gets a 2-episode run, and then he dies, and that didn't give me a lot of time to properly flesh him out to what he was actually meant to be. As I'm sure you guys have seen again, Chaos War DX, that's being rectified in the retelling of Chaos War. He gets a little bit more screen time. Whether his fate will be the same or not, I haven't decided that yet. But I'll be a little bit coy about it and let y'all figure out what's going to be with him. But Flick does have a backstory. He is, I don't want to spoil all of it, but he is childhood friends with John. They knew each other after John came to Mobius and were friends for several years. And then, of course, something terrible happened, and now he doesn't like him. I'll let you all speculate and wonder what that is until the DX version gets released. I'll let you all guess and theorize about that. And of course, we have Tabitu mocking John internally because he's never rid of Tabitu. He's never been rid of Tabitu. He's always been that sort of inkling in the back of his mind, making him second guess himself and wonder and have fear about letting himself loose too much. And now we get to another fight scene with some three doors down. I started using better fitting music as the series went on. This is By My Side, sped up. Hell Spectre Shadow turning into Hell Reaper Shadow. The Dawning of Darkness reference, or the Dawning of Darkness inspiration really coming out now at this point in the series. And I like to say, when you compare these fights to episode 3's, I'd like to think there is a drastic increase in the quality of them. I think they do steadily get better. And he's so enraged he doesn't recognize Xandon from Bunsey, of course. I love it when my red explosion has a blue after image. That's always good. I was too lazy to actually change the freaking colors on that. A hue shift would have worked fine, but I didn't. And of course, I thank Vic for sending me this. I wanted a cool transformation for Vic in this scene, and I did not know how to do one, so I had messaged Vic back on Skype. I was like, hey man, send me the transformation scene that you used in Quest for the Time Stones. And he did. He sent it to me. And so I just threw the Vic sprite in there, or what was at the time the newest Vic sprite, and the Psychorician, or Psychoric Vic rather. And then I got to use it. And fight abruptly ends because of John being a goof. With Subway, of course. You know, he's gonna be Shape Tweens. Love them. I love the Shape Tweens. And John's showing just kind of how naive he really is. There he goes. Off to the subway. With a giant realistic sandwich. Make powers down. Nowadays, I'm gonna or for the future events, I'm gonna be trying to hint more at the forms Vic and Bunsey have, but you know. Here we go. Wesley, Itsu, Ven, and Mephiles. Like I said before, I was going to have Ven show up in the prior episode while Vic and Bunsey were fighting Shadow and Xandon, but I felt like at the time it didn't really fit then. And also, it just didn't work. I didn't feel like, Ven just kind of showing up and just helping them out of nowhere, not knowing really what was going on, and then just, coincidentally helping the heroes fight the villains. Didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, so I had scrapped that and wanted to instead introduce him at the end of episode 4, building up to episode 5. And here's an idea of what happens. Hope y'all get ready for that. Or let that be part of the fuel for your speculation on what goes on between them. I love my JPEG backgrounds. Those are fantastic. Yep, Austin's dead. FEO left because he was depresso. Now it's just 3 people. Well, soon to be 4, rather. That's about to wrap it up on episode 4's commentary. Again, this is episode start of the episodes where I have a lot more backstory and behind the scenes things that I like to talk about and get, you know, just sort of tell that went on as I was making it. The episode 4 through 10 I'm a lot more proud of than the first 3 episodes, because these ones act a lot more coherent and they have a whole lot more going on to them that are interesting for me to talk about. There's more stuff that went into them. So, like I had said before, this was an episode that I did not script, but I had planned out around the time episode 3 was ending and uploaded. So 4 I had made, and then episode 5 was the first episode I had fully scripted. And funny thing, I had scripted episode 5 and then had started animating it, and then that FLA corrupted several times. It's a story I'll probably tell in the next one. And then I had started scripting episode 6 and 7 as I was finishing episode 5, because then I knew by the time episode 5 was almost done, I knew exactly how I wanted the story to go. So the way you guys see it, that's pretty much how I wanted it to be. It could probably be better, but you know, things aren't always as you want them the first time. DX is probably going to change a few things, but not a whole ton. But again, from the time episode 5 had started production and 4 had ended, I knew exactly the way I wanted the series to go, and I'm actually quite proud and happy that episode 10, I managed to end it exactly how I envisioned back in 2013. So anyway, that's all for now, everyone. Thank you guys for stopping by for this creator commentary. Hopefully the next one won't be too much longer, and don't forget to do all those fun things like, comment, and subscribe. That makes YouTube like the video and more people to see it. Again, thank you all so much for watching this commentary, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, everyone.